Things grew quiet, and I couldn't feel the ground or the air as I stood, sat, or moved. A purple cloud appeared, and then it gave off violet light. A red curved sickle hung down. And then there was a division in the room of pink on the left side, of the center of the mirror, and purple on the right. There was a presence behind in the east, but I did not see anything. Until the first couple shudders of euphoria. And a buzzy feeling. And there was a bucket of wood, all wood parts, a handle, curved bucket. And then I had another couple shudders of analgesic euphoria. And then finally I had a few, and the interwoven layers are mixing layers of the pink and the purple, almost like a fabric, were seen as the scene became total. I didn't see the mirror, didn't see anything else. And there was another sickle, more like a grim reaper's, that stereotypical thing that's shown there. One thing I must say is that I don't agree with the Christian use of the term pagan and heathen to denote some type of religion. Pretty much every culture had a wide variety of monotheism to polytheism that was present amongst it. And formulas like Yahweh, descend from stuff used for Ra, Jehovah, and I think others in a context of they didn't think monotheistically. They didn't think, they weren't monotheists, the people that originally used these terms. And it's not just a deity, it's a formula. But they throw in, instead of, some Kabbalistic term for God, they would use Astarte or Baal. Of course, Baal in the Bible was originally an okay name to use for the monotheist deity, but, that was kind of, you couldn't tell what people meant, so they decided, not to use that anymore. In the fall equinox, doing work that is beyond our own, you have the dance of the seven veils, and each veil is handed off at a gate, you could say, and the veils are different colored. I remember I was at the Aqhat OTO Lodge, and they had a fall equinox ceremony where they did that, and the woman was so tattooed that you thought she had clothes on. It's not necessary for the person doing this ritual to be naked, but that's something that can happen. I don't see it listed here as that's something that they do. And the winter solstice ritual, you could say, is around appeasement. But then, following this appeasement, we take it further and say, hey, but what transcends death? And so the fear is set aside. And then you have the rise of the solar entity again, and that is united. And particularly some things that Crowley said or did, and he said and did so much, some people miss the idea that Aleister Crowley was, did cause a cosmic balance and understood different systems in a way that, didn't quite cause the problems as assumed, and the error was, admitted in this volume here. The fall equinox is like the death or the sunset of the year. So you have the path of heaven and the path of hell, and they follow the feminine principle with the lightning. You have a symbolic curse of death, and a particular grain is used. And there's warning involved in, the mixing of their particular booze that they use. The formula that includes an alcoholic beverage. That's important. You don't want to set forward advice and people set things on fire. It's like, you should have warned me. And it's like, well, in a way you shouldn't have to, but the legal setup of today's society, right? Now, in this version of the ritual, there is the hanging of the veils, understanding, mercy, power, beauty, love, knowledge and dreams. There's the interaction with death, as has been said. And then there's the idea of the ascent after the descent. Tiamat, or Tan of the name Ploshtan, and Tamtum, typically thought of as the female Satan in some myths. Leviathan is spoken of as Lotan here, and it's an entity that demands worship. If you saw the Church of Satan books, you see this drawing, this obscure sort of drawing with some of the in some of the Satanic Bible. It occurs at least once, and that's the feeling that one gets. Of course, it's related more to the Thomas Hobbes Behemoth and Leviathan thing. 6,000 BCE or so is said to be represented here in the winter solstice rite. And, people weren't sure, were things going to always be that chaotic? The Ice Age stuff, that ending was coming to a head, that, the changes were not so drastic after that point, but it was a bit drastic until that point at times and places. Whole areas of India and the Near East and stuff like that were, the geography was rearranged. Yeah, rivers and stuff changing courses and all that. There was, of course, an attempt to weave in a unifying system to the whole ritual. Regardless of any effects or experiences, these sorts of things are meant to be practiced as if there is no outside the circle.